You're watching Public Access Television, PATV.
It's Roll On Iowa with your host, John Robert Anton Bacon, and Alan Stroh Jr.
Hi everybody out there, welcome to another episode of the hit award-winning sports Hawkeye talk show, Roll On Iowa. I'm your host, Al Stroh Jr., and to my left, as always, is your co-host, Mr. John Bacon, John Robert Anton Bacon. You know, it feels great to be sitting back in the chairs, John.
Yeah.
We had a little time off. Both of us had a nice holiday season, you know, spent some time with family and friends. And Christmas is done. New Year's is done. We're looking at 2010 now, big guy. What do you think of that, huh? 2010. Can you believe it?
Well, I tell you what, it does seem like only yesterday that with a big millennium scare was here.
Oh, that's right, Y2K
Everybody was
scare.
concerned about Y2K, and now here we are 10 years later.
10 years later.
Yeah.
And you know what? What's fun is that we're right in the middle of the bowl season, which in my opinion is really my favorite little stretch of the sporting year, the college bowl season. I love it. I can't get enough of these bowls. And as you may remember, last time we were on Roll On Iowa, I was giving John a little bit of guff because he did not get into the Stroh family pool.
How's
The
that
bowl
going
pool.
for you, by the way?
Now, we started off this pool, and I was 3-0, bang, out of the gate, you know. I have since fallen into dead last place.
Ooh.
Yeah, dead last place. But the person who is in first place, okay, Benny, my sister's dog.
Oh.
My sister's dog. What I did was I took Benny and I said, I'm going to buy a ballot for Betty. Okay. So I took Betty and my little 3-year-old niece, Holly, and she would hold Benny, and I would take out 2 little tiny pieces of dog treat. And I would say, like, for instance, okay, this one, Benny, is Oregon. This one is Ohio State. And I would hold my hand equidistant, you know, and he would come up with whoever one he ate first, that was his pick. He has gotten 20 right.
Unbelievable.
He has gotten 20 right.
So
with that.
does Benny have this thing locked up, or do we still?
If the frogs win tonight, if the toads win tonight, you cannot beat him mathematically. He will win. And like I said, I'm his manager. I'm his business manager because I put his stake in, and he's the canine prognosticator, but I have to interpret for him. And so we are obviously, you know, as the manager, I will get my cut of the winnings. But rest assured, Benny is he's a Chihuahua, by the way, so he's about 6 pounds, and he's gonna get a bone that weighs more than him. So.
Well, it's a heartwarming story, Al, and thank you for sharing it.
You're welcome. Isn't that heartwarming? Okay, so speaking of bowls, Johnny, the big one, as you were saying, this is Orange Bowl Eve.
Yeah.
If you want to look at it like that. John, tell us your thoughts about it.
Well, I tell you what, many of our viewers out there, if you catch this show on Wednesday night, it'll be in the books.
It'll be in the books. It's going to be a little weird because we're talking about it.
And here I am. I stand before you, sit before you now, hopeful, very nervous. And all of our viewers will know on Wednesday.
Right.
Whether I am on cloud nine, elated, soaring,
Yes.
bouncing my step,
Yeah.
feeling so good that I just will be, I will be thrilled to win this game. Or will I be...
Or we're looking at a long 9 months for
I
Mr.
mean-
John Robert Anton
Or
Bacon.
will Wednesday be a very difficult day
Day one
for me?
of a few
Will
a few
I
bad
be
months.
crushed? I hate the feeling of Hawkeye football defeat. I don't even like to say it.
Yeah.
And I really don't want to feel that tomorrow. I want the victory tomorrow. You know, I was thinking, I work at an elementary school.
Right.
And I believe this is true. Never in the history of Hawkeye football has there ever been an Iowa football game on a school day.
Really?
Or a day where there'd be school the next day.
So we haven't even, yeah, I guess you're right. We haven't even succummed to that sort of Thursday night, Friday night stuff, have we?
It has never happened
never
before
happened.
that there is an Iowa football game the day that we had school. So I'm going to be at school tomorrow.
Now the game starts at 7?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I am psyched, Johnny. I do not share. I don't share the level of nervousness that you seem to be exhibiting. But at the same time, I think you're probably hard pressed to find a Hawk fan that gets more emotionally invested in these guys than this guy here, Mr. John Bacon. But that's why we love him. That's why we love him. But I'll tell you why I'm not quite as nervous. Because what I'm looking at here is, and if you're familiar, did you watch the Wisconsin game?
Yes.
Okay. So Wisconsin played
Miami.
Now, Miami beat these guys, right?
Yeah.
They beat Georgia Tech.
Yeah.
Okay. And Wisconsin really, I was watching it with my old man, and what we both agreed on, what he brought up specifically, was that, you know, this is what we love to see in a Big Ten win in a bowl game. Namely, the physical domination of the line, the toughness of the defense, and really taking it to them, out-toughing them, you know. I mean, getting in that quarterback's face, putting him on his back, you know. That's what we love, and that's what we love to see in a Big Ten. That's what I love to see in a Big Ten victory over these other conferences who always are talking about speed or their fancy play calling and stuff like that. But it's like, boom, just go out and hit them in the mouth, man.
Well,
and I think if we do that, we should be fine.
Big Ten's been very impressive.
Yeah.
Certainly Ohio State looked extremely sharp
And
against
nobody was
Oregon.
picking them, you know.
Penn State
Gutted one out.
clearly stronger on that sloppy field. That field
Oh,
was
my
ripped
God,
apart.
it was.
I've
It
never
was
seen
horrible.
anything like
It was like a mash pit.
It was like the Mud Bowl.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
Penn State strong over LSU.
Right.
Big Tens look good. You know, some of
Well,
the
and
defeats for the Wisconsin, as you mentioned, those are the 3 wins. The defeats,
Yeah.
Northwestern misses a, I believe, 38-yard field goal that
Right.
would have won the game at the end of regulation.
Right.
And what a crazy finish to that game. It was like
Oh,
the
yeah.
Cats with their 9 lives. About partway through the end of that game, I said to myself, I wanted to say to Auburn, welcome to playing Northwestern.
Yeah, exactly. Totally. That's and it would not have surprised me at all. I think they just ran out of gas.
Yeah.
And I think that I think what happened at the end of that game is that when you mentally sort of concede the game, you know, when they're running on the field and you're like, okay, it's very difficult to then go back in for another 4 downs. I really think they had a timeout left too, and I think the coach, but he's green too. He probably should have called that timeout and said, listen, we're 10 yards away from getting in. I think they really could have won that game. But you take that game, and then you take the other loss, Minnesota. Okay, that's 2 losses by a combined 4 points.
Well, Minnesota
You know,
fumbled on the 15-yard line going
Right.
in to score right at the end of that
Right.
game, and a field goal would have won it for
Yeah, exactly. So you look at those 2 games, specifically, like I was saying, the Northwestern and the Minnesota, we're talking about 2 Big Ten losses by a combined 4 points. Now you compare that to some of these spectacular, for instance, Pac-10 losses that we've been watching, you know, and some of these other conferences. Those losses, I mean, Arizona, what was that, 33-zip?
Yep,
Blanked.
destroyed. Nebraska's
you know?
really been playing well. And I will tell you this, Michigan State had 14 players suspended.
Exactly.
for that
yeah.
game
I mean, that
because
was
of this
just
brawl
nuts.
in
And
the-
with the other stuff that's going on, yeah, they had the brawl, which is
And they hung in there. It was a
They did.
very close game right down to the end with Texas Tech.
absolutely. And Texas Tech, you know, sometimes when that kind of thing happens to your program, I think it can go both ways. I was not expecting them to bounce back. I really was expecting Texas Tech to kind of, you know, fold. But, you know, from what I understand about that offense is like it really kind of can run on autopilot. And so they definitely stepped up. You got to give them their props for whatever it's worth. They really did step up, and
It makes you
They
wonder
had
when
a
I
good
watch Texas Tech and that system year in and year out that cranks